Tuesday night. You know what that means? It's time for the Wrestling Nerdcast. And as usual, I'm your host, the disrespectful intellectual, the Southern gentleman, the Morning Star, the IWA North Carolina champion, the Worldwide Grand Prix champion, the incredible Huck, Will Huckaby. And hopefully you're listening mainly to hear my voice, but if you're a new listener, it's probably because of my co-host. I like to call her the Cersei Lannister of wrestling podcasts. She is the opinionated, the diabolical, the often imitated but never duplicated. She is the commentator for not only Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment, but also Mucha Lucha Atlanta, the one, the only, Mika Villas. Mika, how you doing?
Oh my gosh, I am so loving the fact that you just called me the Cersei Lannister of podcasting. That is so good and so scary. Just for anybody's information, I am not banging my brother. That is where I draw the line. I mean, Jaime Lannister's hot if you watch Game of Thrones, but I don't get down like that. But I'm good. Thank you. Thank you very much. I mean, awesome, week, awesome time. A girl's feeling really good, being called Cersei Lannister and just being able to speak with you again in general.
Yeah, I forgot. There was a couple other nicknames I was going to use just to be funny, but I didn't know if you wanted to hear them or not.
As we go on, you could just pop them up. It'll be just something different and new, and I can just, act accordingly with hearing them for the first time as you say them, Cersei Lannister was good. I mean, you could say something that'll, get me all fired up, and then, we'll be on the air having a fight like I don't know who, but, it may happen, it may not. You just have to tune in, folks, to find out, okay?
If you say so. And as usual, also join us on the show, and I know you've got used to hearing his voice. I love to hear his voice every week. He is the hardest working producer in wrestling podcast history, the one, the only Killer Kev. Kev, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. Trying to stay dry tonight. It is pouring down rain up here.
Ugh, well, it looks like, we're about to get like a little bit of wind and rain from Hurricane Jose, and first of all, my prayers to anybody, the people that's in the tropics right now, the Caribbean and stuff, dealing with Hurricane Maria, and anybody who's about to be affected for Hurricane Jose, my deepest prayers out to you. Living in coastal Carolina and stuff, it's basically Hurricane Central. For some reason, it's been a very, very easy year for us. So I hope it dries out for you, Kev. Before I get started, I want to say a rest in peace. Wrestling is a very tight-knit community, and whenever somebody passes away in the wrestling community, it's felt throughout the entire wrestling industry. And this week, we lost what many consider, myself included, the greatest wrestling manager of all time, or at least of my generation, probably the greatest color commentator of my generation, if not in all of wrestling history, the Weasel, Bobby Heenan. And before we actually get into really, really talking, Mika, I want to ask you, what's your feelings, thoughts and stuff, or memories about Bobby the Brain Heenan?
I will kindly correct you. He is of all time, not just your generation. There is hardly a person that I can think of in all the wrestling that I've watched of my generation, the previous generation, the generation before that, and the generation before that, because I will go back and I will watch tons of old wrestling going back to some just Texas old school, really, really, really old wrestling. So everybody on commentary was normal, so to speak. They were just, calling the match like sports announcers do, as you will see them to this day. Football announcers and baseball announcers, they're pretty, even toned, even keeled. There's nothing especially eccentric or outstanding about any of them that I can think of right now off the top of my head, especially growing up watching sports as I have done. But Bobby the Brain Heenan was one of those people. The voice caught you. His words, his sly jokes, his knowledge. And then to see him as a manager, to see the brain weasel out of situations or weasel whoever he was managing at the time into championships, into situations. It was one of the things that kind of got me into WWF at the time, seeing and listening to Heenan, because I was, if I had to pick my poison back in the day, you know, I would watch WCW or some old Texas World Class Championship Wrestling. You know, I'm a tape trader from back in the day, so I would watch other stuff, but listening to and hearing Heenan and watching him drew me in, and then I would get into the likes of Ventura. So Heenan was my intro into Jesse the Body, but nobody did it like Bobby the Brain Heenan. So it is truly a sad day, just as a fan, to know that this amazing personality is no longer with him, that he, along with Gorilla Monsoon, called just some of the most memorable matches. They added to the whole atmosphere and the whole vibe of the match, which a good commentator, if I could be a fourth of good as either Gorilla or Bobby, I would be happy with, you know, my performance, because those were two of the greats. So we definitely indeed lost a great voice, a great talent, a great entertainer. And it's just, I don't say this a lot about WWE. Thank goodness for the network, because if you are someone who, for some reason, can't remember or has never seen any of Bobby the Brain Heenan's work, you have the network. Go back, bootleg it, get it for $9.99 for the first month and cancel it after whatever. But go back and listen to and watch the mastery. He is the epitome of what a good manager can be, should be, and what everybody should emulate if you're going to be a manager in this business, whether you're in front of a crowd of 20 people or in front of a crowd of hundreds of thousands or whatever. Heenan should be in your mind about what his actions, what his mannerisms are. That should be who you base yourself off of and go from there. So yeah, it's really sad. And, you know, condolences out to his friends, family, and fans, because, you know, a lot of us, we're emotionally invested in wrestling as a whole. So it does feel like a part of your family, maybe an uncle or somebody, grandpa, father, or something that has gone on. So you celebrate his life, but you miss that person, you know, knowing that they're still around.
Kev, you got any words about Bobby the Brain Heenan?
Pretty much one of the greatest managers ever alive. You know, and a lot of people don't even know about his contributions as a wrestler over the years. You go find some old footage of him in wrestling matches, especially, you know, AWA, Midwest and Northern areas like that. And you will find a lot of great wrestling matches out of Bobby Heenan. You can see that psychology kicking in very, very early in his career. I mean, it's no wonder that he was a brilliant manager, because he really understood the professional wrestling business inside and out. And he played audiences like a fiddle night in, night out. It was no sweat for him. It is just pure bliss watching him as a wrestler. And it's really unfortunate that injuries took his career as a wrestler away from him as early as they did. But look what we got out of it in return. We got just such a gifted manager who shared so much of that knowledge with so many people inside the business. You know, I've always had a lot of admiration and respect for Bobby Heenan, even when I was a little kid, and I absolutely hated his little weasel ass, and I couldn't wait to watch the match where Matilda went and literally bit him in the ass. That was absolutely great. And bravo for him for pulling that stunt off. I mean, I don't know how many people would be willing to risk a dog bite.
Exactly.
So, you know, a lot of people I've seen have mourned him while he was still living over the last 10, 15 years because of the cancer that took his jaw away. And the way I look at it, and the position I always took is don't feel sorry for him. He's not feeling sorry for himself. Bobby Heenan, yeah, he got in a bad fight with cancer and he lost his jaw, but he won the fight. He lived, and he lived well after that. He was not suffering. He was not hiding. He was not afraid to go out into the public and, to conventions and Comic-Cons and everything, to go out and still meet the people. And, a lot of people still looked up to him and respected him and wanted to meet their icon. Granted, he was not able to engage in the gift of gab as he once was, but in my opinion, he was not diminished at all. He was still sharp as a tack all the way through the end of his life. And, it's just unfortunate so many people would say, poor Bobby Heenan, I feel so bad for him. He looks in bad shape, but he was a very healthy man. So, I have nothing to mourn. I celebrate his life and celebrate everything that he stood for in the wrestling ring. Recognize him as a good man with a good heart. He raised his children right. He stayed in his marriage, and he was a faithful husband. And that's something that's very hard to do in professional wrestling. So many couples have trouble and strife, because of the issues of the road. He managed to keep it all together and do the right thing. And I can't think of anybody in the business of professional wrestling who really had a better life. I can't think of any time where Bobby Heenan really struggled in the business or had a rough time. Everything just played out to his advantage his whole life. So I'm sorry to hear that he's gone. It really would have been nice if I could have met him at some point in my life. But I have no regrets on that. And, I'm glad that I got to share as much of his life that he shared that he did. So.
Yeah, I got a chance to meet him, like a year or 2 years ago, I think, at WrestleCade, here in North Carolina and stuff, man. And I met him because of a friend of mine who had, worked at OVW and worked at Smoky Mountain and stuff when Cornette ran it and stuff. So he was super cool, super nice. He shook everybody's hand. He was signing autographs and. Especially with a lot of guys, they always say don't meet your idols or don't meet your heroes and stuff, or you shouldn't meet people that you look up to because 9 times out of 10 they're going to disappoint you. But Bobby Heenan was just one of those guys that, like, if you didn't get a chance to meet him, you really missed out because, like you said, Kev, even though he couldn't really participate in conversations very well or whatever, you could still tell that he had a love and a passion for professional wrestling. And in my opinion, I feel that characters like Bobby Heenan are what's missing in professional wrestling today. Like, professional wrestling from the top to the bottom is really lacking in really good quality managers. One of the best things about Bobby Heenan was that, the Heenan family, it wasn't a group of guys who all had similar looks or similar gear or similar gimmicks. It was just a hodgepodge of wrestlers. And the only thing they had in common was that Bobby Heenan was their manager. And so, Bobby Heenan was one of the few managers that as soon as you joined his family, you were automatically a heel. It didn't matter what you did the week before. It didn't matter what you did earlier in that night. The minute you walked out with Bobby Heenan, you were automatically a heel. You automatically had that credibility that you were a contender and that you were a heel. And I think that professional wrestling is really, really missing that. On that note, moving into a segue, I think this is a good segue into tonight's guest. We say that something that professional wrestling is missing from the bottom to the top. And you guys will see why in a few minutes, trust me. So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight's guest, I'm seriously jealous of this guy, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes. But first of all, this guy is a a vet, a seriously known vet, not only in the great state of West by God, Virginia, but also in Ohio, Virginia, Tennessee, Kentucky, et cetera, et cetera. This guy knows what it means when it says pay your dues and get the windshield time. He is, as far as I know, he's still the Savage Championship Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, and he's also the Renegade Pro Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, and he has a whole other list of accolades and titles and stuff that we're just, hopefully he'll let us know about. But this guy is, when I say that he's something that professional wrestling is really missing from the top to the bottom, this interview will show you why, because this guy is 100% uncut, like, Colombian cocaine. He holds no punches back, and if you ask him for his opinion, he will tell you. Ladies and gentlemen, TJ Phillips. TJ, what's going on, man?
Hey, thanks, Huck. Thanks for having me, man.
No problem. First of all, before I get into how long you've been in business and who brought you in and stuff, I'm gonna go ahead and right off the bat, tell everybody why I'm jealous of you. And I think we talked about this in the show one time, why I'm so jealous of you. Do you want to let the cat in the bag, or you want me to go ahead and say it?
I think I know what you're talking about. I think we talked about it after that show in Parkersburg there when we were at that at the place eating afterward.
Yes, we were. Right. Yes, we were.
Okay, yeah. You go ahead and tell it though. Yeah.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, our guest tonight has the esteemed honor of being Nigel McGuinness's last, was it his last indie match or his last match period? Which one was it?
Last match period. It was his last match ever.
Yeah, he was like the great Nigel McGuinness, his former ROH champion, TNA star, his last match ever. Somebody that I look up to, somebody whose submissions I still use to this day, somebody who I've seen every match, whether he's been in ROH, or in England or on the indies and stuff. I'm super jealous that actually happened.
I got a funny story about that match, actually. So we're in the back going over our shit, you know what I mean? And we're working the arm in the shine, and I was like, man, I got this great spot back into it. So I go into this big, long, elaborate spot, and I get about halfway through it, and I notice he's looking at me real funny. And I'm like, oh, because it just occurred to me right there. I was like, oh, shit, that's your spot, right? I stole that from you, didn't I? And he started laughing. And he's like, yeah, you did. And I was like, well, we won't do that then. And he was like, no, you're going to do it. And I was like, oh, awesome. Okay, so I got to do Nigel's spot, arm wringer spot, the step up over gimmick to the cravat on Nigel, which is kind of funny.
Oh, that's so great. You're an amazing. Besides, a lot of times people see on social media and stuff that you do a lot of hardcore matches and stuff, cage matches, barbed wire, you name it, you've done and stuff. But you are a very accomplished technical wrestler also. How long have you been in the business? And who first introduced you? Who actually got you into the game?
Well, I've been wrestling as of May 24th this year, 18 years. I started in 1999. I was just kind of hanging around shows, you know what I mean? Me and my buddies at these real little local indie shows run by Jim Hawkins, called Mason Dixon Wrestling. And I basically, I was a tiny kid. I'm not a big guy now. But I begged my way into let me get in the ring, you know what I mean? And they were showing me how to bump. Well, I come from a family of amateur wrestlers, so, bumping and moving like you're wrestling come real supernatural to me. I started wrestling before I could crawl, you know what I mean? When I wrestled competitively from the time I was 5 until I was 18. So, just being wrestling and watched pro wrestling, of course, grew up watching it. So Jim let me get in the ring a little bit there, and they showed me how to bump correctly instead of doing like break falls like you would if you were shooting. And then they brought in a guy named Scotty McKeever, which I'm sure you know who Scotty is. And he really wanted to learn how to shoot real bad. So he asked me to teach him how to shoot. And at the same time, I was like, well, man, if you teach me how to work, I'll teach you how to shoot. And at the same time, I was living underneath Johnny Blast in a basement apartment underneath his apartment. So every day I was picking his brain and making towns with him every weekend and stuff, and getting with Scotty. And then, I mean, Scotty took me around George South and then Bo James, and just, you know, picking up and learning as I went, you know what I mean? Being a sponge and just doing whatever I had to do, you know what I mean? Putting up rings, tearing down rings, you know, sweeping floors, cleaning toilets. It didn't matter what I had to do, and just living on couches and crap. But, you know, you do what you got to do to make it, to do what you want to do. You know what I mean? If you really want something in your life, it doesn't matter how hard it is, you'll do it.
Now, speaking of things being hard and stuff, like you said earlier, TJ, you're not the tallest guy in the world. Like, you know, if somebody's seen you walking and they've just seen your back, you look pretty much like the average guy. So starting off in '99, you know, that was when guys were big and they were still huge. And, you know,
there's a funny story about that too.
How was it getting into the business then? Yeah, I'm about to say, how was it being of your size and stature back then?
When I first started training, it was me and this guy I grew up with. He was on the wrestling team in high school too with me. He was 6'4" and like 250. You know what I mean? He's a big boy. And you know, being 18, he's still growing, you know, so he's going to be a real big boy. So of course the guy, Jim and all of them flocked to him, you know what I mean? Thinking, yep, this is the guy, and really ignored me and didn't pay attention to anything that I was doing. You know, I was like second hand, whatever. I was the hanger on or whatever. I was a little scrawny goof, 140 pound kid. And yeah, 140 pounds is way too little, but I'm not that now. And I knew I wouldn't be that forever, you know, and they didn't pay attention to me. Well, one time I trained for a solid year before I ever got in a match, because they just didn't pay attention to me. You know what I mean? They didn't care. And there was a referee. He's from Philadelphia. His name's Mike DeMuzio. And before a show, he saw me working out, and I'm doing all this, you know, lucha spots and shit that I basically taught myself and learned from Scott what I'd learned from Scotty. You know what I mean? And he might come up to me and says, so when's your first match, bud? And I was like, and I'd known Mike for a few weeks or whatever, you know what I mean? Because back then I was training a few days a week, you know what I mean? Because there was a few shows a week, you know, just around here locally. You know what I mean? You'd be able to do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or 2 on Sunday. You know what I mean? It was pretty much every day but Monday. The only people that ran on Monday was Vince. But anyway, DeMuzio saw me and he asked me what my match was. And I was like, man, I haven't had a match yet. And he walked over and talked to Hawkins and bullied Hawkins into letting me work that night.
Well, that's pretty sweet. I'm about to say, hold on one second, TJ. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Wrestling Nerdcast on the Angry Marks Podcast Network. We're talking to our guest, West Virginia vet and multi-champion, TJ Phillips. TJ, I'm going to pass it on over to my co-host now. I like to call her the lover of waffles, and she is the voice of the speech impediment. Mika Villas. Mika, what do you have for our guest tonight?
Oh my gosh. Well, first and foremost, thank you for sharing, you know, that Nigel story, because a lot of people know who Nigel is, and to know, like, you know, hey, here you are, somebody who had the very last match Nigel ever had. Moving a little bit from that to, there was something that, as I was doing research, because I am in the Atlanta area and I try to be as well versed in independent wrestling as I possibly can. I had to look you up and do a couple matches and what have you, but I came across a picture of you that you were absolutely, you know which one I'm talking about, don't you? You were absolutely positively covered in blood from head to almost toe. And the caption read, TJ Phillips just broke the Muda scale. And that right there, I mean, it's a pretty gnarly picture. Tell us all about that and how that went down, because, you know, it's awesome, but my God, man, is that something that's a norm for you?
It's not a rarity. That was a little bit more than normal. I didn't expect it to go that much. I wanted to go good though, because it was for Remix Pro Wrestling, and they draw a pretty good house and sell some DVDs, you know. So I knew, you know, if I'm gonna get juice, I'm gonna do it in front. But literally that night, it was I had blood from head to literally the soles of my shoes, and left a foot wide trail all the way around the ring, a big puddle in the ring, all the way down the ramp, all the way down the stairs, all the way to the back, to the girls' locker room, and to the shower. It was a lot of blood that night. And it was just, you know, I didn't gig too much. I didn't gig, you know, man, just hit it right, and it went. And it was just one of those luck of the draw things, I guess. And I mean, cause we were doing this big angle that we had built up for 6 months, and did all kinds of promos on the internet and stuff for. So, you know, there was a lot of hype to the match. So I felt like, you know, I really had to bring something, especially when they're like, yeah, you know, it's no rules, blah, 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 barbed wire chair and thumbtacks and tables and all that crap. And Viper being in the match, who does a bunch of deathmatch stuff. So I knew I had to do something to stick out. So that's what I did to stick out. I think it worked.
I'm going to just have to say this from, you know, a fan's perspective. It more than stands out, because literally and truly I was like, oh my gosh, where is this match? I need to look at it. I need to figure out, how is this man still standing, and how many pints and liters of blood that they have to pump back into him afterward. I just knew there was no way you walked out yourself. I'm like, yep, he got carried out. I mean, you know, paramedics, they were like, forget about it, you know, call this one, and, you know, here you are sitting here talking to us. So, you know, that right there is, again,
funny story about the paramedics too. So we get downstairs, and I'm screaming at the paramedics to leave me alone and not to touch me. And Will, you're going to laugh about this. They were like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? It's like, you haven't, nobody's taken pictures yet. You can't touch me. Don't clean me up. And
wow.
The woman looked at me like I was insane, and I was like, no, I'm serious. Don't touch me. I need to get pictures. If I don't have pictures, it didn't happen. So they get their pictures, and they go to start cleaning me up. They're like, oh, well, you're going to need some stitches. And I was like, stitches, hell. And I go get my bag, and I got super glue, and I made the referee, James Knight, glue my forehead back together. And I went to the hotel that night, was completely fine. No problems. No blood needed, nothing.
Oh, my gosh. Super glue. Oh, now that's just way hardcore. So if that's not your normal everyday, let's move away from this super glue and tell me, because you've been doing this for, you know, for a while now. You're like you said, you're not the biggest of guys, and you're clearly talented. What are you looking to pass on? Because I'm pretty sure after you super glued yourself together, there are plenty of guys who just, you know what, this is our guy. Whatever he's teaching, we're buying. So what do you want to pass on other than super glue to anybody who comes to you for advice and go, hey, you know, TJ, what can I do better, or what can I do?
Honestly, it's my outlook on what wrestling is. Wrestling, people, it's an athletic sport, okay? But more so than that, it's performance art. Okay, and I say that because what is art? Art, it could be anything. It could be music, painting, you know, movies, whatever. Anything that gets an emotional response out of you. That's what makes it art, you know? I mean, because if you don't feel anything from it, it's nothing to you. But if you see something and think it's, oh, well, that's beautiful, you know, and you really feel that that's beautiful painting or whatever, or an awesome match, it's art. So my job as a performance artist is to go out there and pull emotional responses from the marks at certain times when I want to. And that's the thing that everybody, you know, can work on the most, myself included, is just work on the art of what wrestling is, the psychology, understanding why you're doing things. Don't just do things. Everything has to have a reason. If it doesn't, it's taking away from it.
Now, TJ, this is Will again. I'm glad Mika asked that question because I definitely wanted to speak about this. This week you had a big announcement on your social media and stuff, that there was in your opinion, a training school opening up, in the West Virginia, the Huntington, Charleston area, that is going to train people the right way. Can you tell us all about this training school and stuff? Who's going to be some of the trainers or guest trainers and stuff that you have plans of bringing in, and all the other plans, and why you finally decided to start really training guys and opening up a school?
Well, I've trained guys for a while, on and off. You know what I mean? I'd have a trainee here or there. And I always like teaching because teaching's when you make yourself the best. Because if I'm telling you to do something, then I'm subconsciously going to pay attention and make sure I do it when I'm working. So if you see me, I'm doing it the way I'm showing you, not, practicing what I preach. But, I've always wanted, when I started, after I got done with, Jason Kincaid, I wanted to do a school. That was like my goal. It's like, man, it'd be awesome if I could open up this school and just, for a place for the boys, come work out and learn, and guys to come up and learn right. You know what I mean? Because so many people learn the wrong way now, or just come in backyarding, or, a goof fed that's just running, which happens horribly in West Virginia and a couple of places. And, there's really nobody left to teach the old way to learn. And it's not exactly the nicest way. I mean, it's hard, but anything worth having's worth the work that's involved in it.
Now, I was going to ask you what was going to be what was going to be the difference? What's the name of the training school? Let me go ahead and get that out there.
Oh, Black Bear Training Camp.
Okay. Why the name Black Bear Training Camp?
Well, black bear's our state bear, sir. It's our state animal, and I didn't want to.
You would think.
You know nothing.
What
Will.
was that?
Nothing. You know nothing. I even knew that. Duh.
You would think as much time as I spent in West Virginia, I would know that, but no, I didn't.
You really should know that.
I was going to ask you, what was going to be different, and what were you going to try to do differently than a lot of other training schools? Because we know that, especially the more renowned training schools are all known for something. The Monster Factory with Danny Cage and stuff, he has this huge Monster Cat Factory camps, and he teaches you, about the business side of professional wrestling. CZW, DJ Hyde and stuff, they're more about the psychological stuff. You have the Team 3D Dojo down in Georgia, and then we just seen how was it not Matt Striker, Matt Bourne and Frankie Siatsu was opened up a training school and stuff down there in Florida. You have the Wild Samoans, you have Johnny Rods up in New York. What is going to be different about Black Bear than the rest of these training schools?
Really, I mean, I can offer a really good insight that a lot of places can't, with the really super technical side of stuff. You know what I mean? I've been, catch wrestling and stuff like that since I could crawl, like I said. And that translates over very well to professional wrestling, especially overseas in Japan and Europe. I can do that fairly well. That's something I really enjoy, and I can really push because I can explain why this would actually work. Because if I explain to you how to do this and why it works, then it's easy for that to translate over to the marks when you're putting it together in a match. You know what I mean? So really it's a lot of that and a lot of psychology, just a lot of storytelling, because that's the most important thing.
Speaking of storytelling, Mika, I'm going to tell you right now that I've never seen this side of TJ, because usually with TJ, the first thing people say as soon as he walks in the door at any show is, hey, look, guys, and by guys, I mean TJ, no cursing, no profanity at all.
I get that. at least 85 times a show before I go out the curtain and say, hey, watch your mouth. Watch what you say, watch what you say. And then you sent me that text earlier saying I could say whatever I wanted. And really, I think the only thing I said is shit. And I was trying to be really, kind of professional because, you guys are sounding professional on me. So I was trying not to be really foul, but I will say fuck because I can.
I was just,
that's like the best I got.
I was just saying, like, Mika, like, I think that we got him off guard and stuff because usually it's just like, yeah, Will, and F this and this MF and this GD. And I'm like, and everybody's looking at TJ, like, you can't use the word cunt on the show. Like, you can't call somebody a cunt.
I have said cunt like only 4 fucking times that I said cunt in the ring. You know what I mean? And I've caught shit each time. So I understand. And then the last time you told me not to cuss, by the way, I see you giving people the finger and everything else. So there ain't no saying, fuck you's fuck you. That's how that is. That's fair. John Cooper wouldn't let me drop GD on the fucking mic. I was kind of pissed. I was upset. I really wanted to. He said we weren't coming back.
Well, okay. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, your gimmick, which is not really a gimmick, it's who you are in real life, is not, I'm not going to say it's the conventional wrestler. It's not the typical wrestler. It's just not the typical person. You are very unique in not only your look, but also, and not only your approach to a wrestling match, but just, and your outlook on life. If you would be so kind as, because I don't know if Mika knows this or not, but, our guest is kind of in this, I guess you could say you're an ordained minister?
Well, I'm not an ordained minister. I'm a member of the Satanic Temple.
Oh.
There's
a difference. There is a pronounced difference. You don't actually have to be ordained to be a member of the Satanic Temple, where there are people in the opposite side who have to do whatever to be ordained. So, not only is that interesting as hell, no pun intended, but okay, let's talk about that. So this is part of your whole gimmick, or who you are is just like, hey, you know what? Not only, you drop a couple cuts here, but, we just go crazy.
I got the best bit of advice I've ever gotten in the business, years and years ago from Scotty. And he told me, I asked him, I was like, how come, how do you come up with a gimmick? I mean, something that's marketable, that people will buy and believe. You know what I mean? Because I'm not an actor. I don't try to be an actor. And, you see some guys out there trying to be actors, and you can see right through it, and the marks can see right through it. Scotty told me, just be yourself, find out what makes you different, and turn it up to 11. And that's all you have to do. And literally, that's all I do. I'm me. Well, 90% of the time, I mean what I say on the microphone.
And I'm bringing this up, TJ. And I'm bringing this up, TJ and Mika, because you're responsible for my favorite poster I've ever seen in my 11 and a half years of professional wrestling. The greatest poster I've ever seen a fan bring to a show was because of you. And Mika, this little kid bought a little cardboard sign or whatever, poster board sign, and it said, TJ Phillips is my youth pastor. And I don't know why, and I don't know what this kid was thinking. I don't know if he was just being sarcastic or if he was being serious, but I saw it, and of course he did. I just happened to see it when I was going out for my match, and I was like, did that sign just say TJ Phillips is his youth? What? Like, what the hell is this kid talking about?
I saw him coming in because we were at that stadium, and I saw that kid coming in, and I immediately ran over. And I'm a heel. I don't usually go around the marks ever at all. But I saw that kid coming in, and I ran up. I was like, come here, let me get a picture with you real quick. And I immediately put that shit on Facebook. That was the funniest thing I'd ever seen.
That is amazing. So amazing.
I'm telling you, it was hilarious, Mika. So, TJ, when talking to the few times you do interact with the fans and stuff, how does that go? How does that interaction, the conversation go? Do people feel like, oh, it's just a gimmick? He's not like that in real life. And then they find out that's really who you are. How do they react to that?
Oh, at first they're a little bit shocked, though they don't believe it at first. And then, I show them the card, and then they're like, oh. And
hold on, you have a card?
Yeah.
Okay, please tell me what your card says.
It has my name on it and says I'm a member of the Satanic Temple.
I don't even get a card as a Christian. I feel a little gypped here.
You should feel it. You should.
How many people question you about it, though?
For me personally, there's actually a lot, but that's a whole different story.
But have doubt that when you say that, have doubt. You know what I mean? When
I guess nobody doubts it. Yeah, you have to prove. You have to literally prove.
People think I'm just being a smart ass or some shit. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, I'm really not. This is how I feel. This is who I am. And then it kind of freaks them out, and then they start asking me questions. They're like, why? And I explain to them why. And it makes sense to them, and then it kind of scares them a little bit. And then I laugh and walk off because I've done my job.
That's it right there. That's how you do it right there. Now, speaking of fans and stuff, something else I wanted to touch on when I contacted you and stuff.
Yeah.
There's a wrestling company coming back in West Virginia. Would you like to speak on that? Go ahead and get this company over, TJ.
Back in 2004, I decided with a buddy of mine that I was going to run shows. And we started running under the Eastern Wrestling Alliance, the EWA. Well, we ran from 04 clear probably until 2011, 2012. We were drawing. But I thought the most we drew was 528 in a little ass town. But we were doing off the wall stuff, and we were drawing that consistently. You know what I mean? More than anybody else around. It was ridiculous. And really good shows, having really good, solid guys, but we didn't need a lot of names because, you can pay to see a name, or you can pay to see a young, hungry guy that wants to go out there and bust his ass and entertain people and work hard. You know what I mean? Somebody's hungry. I would rather see those guys over a name. That's just me, though. You know what I mean? So that's the way I booked. I booked stuff that, I would enjoy, matches that I think I would enjoy seeing, and entertain, matches that would be entertaining on different levels. We did crazy stuff. We did high flying stuff. We did big, strong, tough guys beating the shit out of each other's stuff. I remember one night, man, I had Beastman versus Eric Steele, and they beat the living fuck out of each other. I told them before they went out, I was like, listen, guys, I want, Kobashi Masawa. Go give me that. And they fucking delivered. It was beautiful. Well, anyway, we're back. We're going to have our first show in Fairmont on October 28th. Big Halloween deal. And then we're coming back there November 11th and December 16th. Will, I think I got you on that one, right?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Yeah, good. See, you know what I'm saying? I'm using good, solid guys. And that's what I want. And I just think it's going to be entertaining. I just find it more entertaining. I want to book a show I would pay money to see, because I see these shows around, and I wouldn't pay money to see some of this shit. I wouldn't.
Now I'm going to ask you, because, you're a booker, you're a trainer, you're a promoter and stuff, and you just mentioned you would much rather see, guys who are young and hungry instead of booking a bunch of names. How do you feel about and this is not, and we're not shooting on anybody in West Virginia or wrestling period, but in your personal opinion, why do you feel like, is it always good to book a name every show, or do you think that that's something that should happen every once in a while?
I don't think you need a name every show. I think you can make your own names. You know what I mean? If I'm using you, for example, and I'm giving you the big push, right? You're my name now. I'm going to make you the star. I don't need an outside star. And how do I make you a bigger star? Give you a push for 6 months and then bring one name in, and you beat that name. Now you're a fucking monster. You know what I mean? Now you've got instant credibility. You get that little pop, of, oh, here's a name, and then you hook them with you, because you're the one coming back. That's the thing that a lot of guys don't get, is those are the guys that are important. Guys like you, guys like me, guys that, you know what I mean, that are going to be there, that you can push, that are good, solid fucking workers that can get over and will get over. And then you supplement a name in every once in a great while to feed to those guys, to the names you build. You're building a product. You're not, you know, helping Vince McMahon's product from the 80s. You know what I mean? That's not the product I want to shill. I want to shill my own product.
I know our time is getting very short with you and stuff, TJ, because I know you're a very busy guy. But I wanted to ask you this before. I wanted to see if Mika had any other questions and stuff. Why Fairmont? Why wrestling in Fairmont? It's not a huge city. It's not a Charleston. It's not a Huntington. It's not a Beckley. You know, why Fairmont?
Well, two reasons. One, I born and raised in Fairmont, and two, it's 15 minutes from Morgantown, which, when school's in session, is the second largest city in the state.
Well, that makes sense right there.
Yeah. On a game
Mika,
day, it's
once
the
again,
first largest.
on game day, it's the largest.
Yeah.
You know, I can't be a WVU fan.
Oh my gosh.
Mika, do you have any other questions for our guest tonight?
I was going to get a little bit personal because we've, and I know this may be a little bit different. I'm not sure how many people have been asked you, considering how open you are and just blatantly, brutally honest, which I appreciate. Tell me about the tattoos on your chest.
Okay. Well, what that is a half-done job that I need to get finished. But it's just, you know, my personality in general. It's a, you know, quirky little haunted house. When it's done, it's going to have some trick-or-treaters on it and whatnot. And the bats, I just love bats. I grew up in a house with a sealed-off attic, and there was bats nested there forever. We couldn't get rid of them. You know, we tried and tried and tried. So all night long, you could hear them, and you could see them going flying in and out. So I just got used to them. So bats are kind of something I like.
So you legit had bats in your belfry growing up, and you've got a haunted house on your chest. That's pretty amazingly awesome. Okay. One last non-personal question. I love it. I mean, like, okay, the bats, I get. I mean, I'm down with bats. As long as they're not in my belfry, I'm good. And, you know, I don't have any ink, but I love ink, and I was just trying to, you know, get a look, you know, not staring you down or up or anything, but it's it doesn't look bad, but I get it. I'm like, it looks like a house. I can't tell, but now I get it. Haunted house.
It still needs finished. Yeah.
But, you know, Halloween's coming up soon. Is that your favorite holiday?
Absolutely. It's my favorite day of the year, next to my birthday.
Do you know what you're going to be this Halloween? Are you going to share with us?
You know, I've tossed around like 3 different things, but me and Big Ox, Thrillbilly Ox, we were laughing the other day talking about it, that we should go as Shrek and Donkey, except I'm Shrek and he's Donkey, because he's, you know, 6'8", 500 pounds.
I love it. I love that idea.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny too.
Well, it could be Fiona for you. That would just make it perfect. The perfect threesome right there. Yeah. He's got no problem. He's talking about Incredible Hulk. He could be green and a chick. I mean, let's do it. I would book that. I'm just saying. Okay. I'm done. I'm going to get yelled at later. I'm done.
Well, I'm not dressing up as Fiona. I don't even like Halloween, first of all, okay? I don't even do horror movies. Like I don't do horror movies. Like, every time I look on social media and TJ's watching, like, the Hellraiser, whatever it is, all the Hellraiser movies and all the Saw movies, like, I don't even watch that stuff. I am, like, an action comedy, cartoon, romantic comedy kind of guy. You know what I'm saying?
Do you realize who Fiona is? Fiona is from Shrek, which is a comedy. I'm just saying. I know. I mean, you shouldn't be scared. I know you're like 6'4" and you're scared of stuff. Don't be scary. Just, you know, get into the spirit. Quit being a punk. All right, I'm shut up now.
I don't do Halloween. I don't do Halloween. Anyway,
that's TJ,
one more question before TJ, one more question before we get to social media. Back to the training school. Besides yourself, who else will they find their training? And if you have a list of or a couple of names and stuff of guys who may come in as guest trainers, let us know real quick.
Well, I'm probably just going to have some of the guys that I've either helped with or, have helped me along the way, because they've all expressed interest in coming in and hanging out. Guys like Jason Kincaid and Scotty McKeever, Danny Ray, guys who have been somewhere, that want to help out, help me out along the way too. I'm sure guys like Johnny Blast are going to be in there, which his mind is fantastic. And I tell the young boys all the time to get near him and talk to him and get smart, because Johnny understands this business. So,
I love
really
Johnny.
Valuable guys. Oh yeah. How can you not?
Well, like I said, I know our time with you is running short, so let all our listeners and fans know, where they can keep up with you, information, where they can find information, not only on Black Bear Pro Wrestling Academy, but also on the EWA and its first upcoming show. Give out all the social media and stuff, man.
Well, me, I'm real simple. I'm just, Facebook guy. So, TJ Phillips on Facebook. It's real easy to find. Also on Facebook, though, and if you want to find out information about the EWA, Mid-Valley, Renegade Pro, IWA East Coast, everybody, you know what I mean? You can get on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that jazz, and Real Shoot Wrestling. They help us out with our shows, and, they have every bit of the information that you're looking for. So, you can find them on any platform, I guess.
You don't do the Twittering? You don't Twitter?
Oh, man, I don't tweet. I'm old, Will. I don't do that silly stuff. Hell, it's hard enough for me to keep up with Facebook. I have an Instagram, right? And I just gained like 3 or 4 followers a day, and I haven't opened it in 8 months. So I don't know why people are following me.
Look, man, come on, man. Even Rip Rogers has a Twitter. Like,
it's
come
too
on,
much
man.
for me, man. It's too much. It really is. It's too much to keep up with. I got too much shit to worry about than to fuck around on my phone all day.
Well, TJ, thank you for being the guest of the show, man. I really do appreciate it.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. I had a fun time.
No problem. And once again, where's you gonna be at this week and the upcoming weeks? Where can the fans and listeners and stuff find you at?
Thursday night, I will be in Charleston, West Virginia at the Dead Zone for RPWA title tournament, me versus Johnny Magnum in the semifinals this week. Then Saturday, I'm in Nelsonville, Ohio for XWE wrestling Jock Sampson in a street fight. So, we're going to have fun this week.
Oh, you tell Jock I said hello. I was supposed to have a match with him a couple of months ago. I was supposed to have a match with Jock a couple of months ago, and the show ended up getting canceled. So I still haven't had my match with Jock Sampson yet.
I just got to working for the first time ever last month. This is only the second time I've ever been in the ring with him, ever. I've known him for 15 years.
Jesus.
Easy.
But anyway.
Easy.
Well, look, anyway, once again, TJ, thanks for being a guest on the show, man. Hopefully, once the school gets up and running this stuff, and maybe let's just say after December, after, I make my debut at EWA, we have you come back on, man, and we can talk about everything that's going on and stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, because once we get going, I've got a bunch of interested students already. So, hopefully we have a nice big class that, after you make your debut, maybe you stop in, take a look at them, see what you think.
Definitely, without a doubt, man.
Talk about it. Yeah, for sure.
Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for coming on. I'll catch you later, all right?
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Mika.
Yeah. I like TJ. I like TJ. I like TJ. He's a straight shooter. He definitely doesn't pull any punches. And like you said, basically everything you said in his intro is true. He just kind of tells it like it is. I would love, for all jokes aside, to get you to dress as Fiona for Halloween. I mean, like, for real, if they do Shrek and Donkey, it's just fitting that you do a green ogress. But outside of that, I might have to figure out how to jump in a car and go up to West Virginia to check out a show or two, see what's happening up that way.
I tell you what, man. TJ is so great. He's so easy to talk to. He's such a great guy to be around. And I'm serious. Like, I've never, like, usually he's like the Rip Rogers of West Virginia. Hey, Kev, and you know what I'm talking about when I say he's the Rip Rogers of West Virginia, right?
All right.
Did you hear that? Did you hear the question, Kev?
No, I missed it.
Oh, I said our today's guest, TJ Phillips, is like the Rip Rogers of West Virginia. And when I say somebody's the Rip Rogers of West Virginia, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right?
Right.
Like every third word
I don't
is
know.
an F-bomb.
I'm pretty sure Rip Rogers has probably visited West Virginia once. I'm pretty sure he probably left that record right there.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah,
I mean,
TJ, he's a great guy.
It might take 2 or 3 dozen wrestlers to fill those shoes. Or that mouth.
Oh, without a doubt. Anyway, something I wanted to talk about before we got off the air. And it was just announced, I want to say Monday. It was announced yesterday. Thanksgiving weekend, November 24th, 25th, and 26th, is usually reserved for in North Carolina. It's reserved for WrestleCade, which is a 3-day fan fest put on by the owners of AML, Tracy Myers and Brian Hawks. But this Thanksgiving weekend, the fans of North Carolina are in for a second treat, because even though WrestleCade is right there in Winston-Salem, Saturday, November 25th, WWE just announced that they are bringing back the iconic pay-per-view known as Starrcade, which will not be available on the WWE network, which is pretty strange, which almost makes you feel like it might be a house show instead of a pay-per-view. I'm not really sure, but I really wanted to talk about this real quick before we got off the air. So, Mika, what are your thoughts about WWE not only bringing back Starrcade, but running it on the same night that that an indie company, because we know that WWE knows, you're running it the same night that this indie company is running a huge 3-day Legends Fan Fest.
WWE is pulling their weight, and I think they're trying to test out to see how much they can kill the territory all over again. I mean, again, WrestleCade is something that's been going on for X amount of years now, and it draws well. I mean, you can speak from personal experience about how many people come out, how many people pay for an entire weekend to come out to see legends from past, present, and future, that people take bookings and they go in, and it's a great time to be a fan, to be able to go. Now, WWE sees none of this money, none of this revenue, none of this hype and hoopla is about them. And it sounds a little petty, but I will say that maybe perhaps Vince and company are a little bit jealous that they're not getting a piece of this pie. So why not put something out there that has been in that area before? WCW, when they were out and about, Starrcade was a huge pay-per-view. That was one of their, big 3 pay-per-views. We own the rights to Starrcade, being WWE. Why not put this in this area where we know there are going to be lots of wrestling fans, and kind of see what piece of this pie we can take away from? Because just nostalgic purposes, I have people saying, oh my gosh, let's go to Starrcade. They weren't so interested in WrestleCade because a lot of the names and people you can see on the indie circuit, what have you, it's just not a draw. But Starrcade, they're like, oh my gosh, WWE is bringing it back. Let's go see what's going to happen. Let's just go to say we went to a Starrcade. So I think it's kind of funny that it's happening, and that WWE literally, I believe, is testing the waters and in a way kind of paying indie wrestling back, quote unquote. Maybe pardon my use of the vernacular, but perhaps this is WWE's receipt for WrestleMania weekend, when WrestleMania should be the draw for WrestleMania week, and all these cities that they go into, and indie wrestling has kind of set up shop under that WrestleMania umbrella and run shows in the same city during the same time frame as WrestleMania. This is Vince going, hey, guess what? I am still the big dog. This is still my yard, and I can shut you down whenever I want to. What if WWE pulls their legends who are booked for WrestleCade because of their wrestling, their WWE Legends contract? Those are names that are gone now that people might have paid money to see, which WWE, by all rights and means, can do. Say, sorry, we need you this weekend, and you got to play with us and not them. It's amazing.
I never thought about that whatsoever, Mika. I never thought about that. Before I respond back to that, I want to ask our producer, because I know he's very opinionated about things and about a lot of things WWE and Vince McMahon. Kev, do you have an opinion about this?
Mika hit it right there at the end. As soon as I heard this, I was like, motherfuck. This is WWE's payback for, companies that run shows on WrestleMania. But here's the thing, though. WrestleCade doesn't fuck with anything WWE. I mean, if WWE really want to do something, they'd fuck with ROH shows. Or they'd fuck with PWG shows. Or somebody else. What the fuck has WrestleCade ever done for anybody but give fans a good time? God damn it. Fuck you, Vince McMahon. Fuck you, whoever decided to pull this goddamn bullshit. And this is why WWE doesn't get my money anymore.
I knew you were Kev, I knew you would be very passionate about that. I kind of felt like Mika. I was like, okay, this might be a receipt.
And you know what? I'm even going to add this.
Kind of
I'm going to throw this in here too. It's not going to be a good show. It's not going to be a show that's worthy of carrying the name of that pay-per-view, because WWE doesn't give a shit about that pay-per-view. It doesn't give a shit about the history. It doesn't give a shit about the old territory. It doesn't give a shit about the legends. This is just a pure fuck you money grab. Goddamn bullshit. Vince McMahon doesn't need any more fucking money. If his wife would stop running failed campaigns for Congress and whatever, she wouldn't have to worry about it. Well, at least we don't have to worry about that now, because she's now got a paid position in the government. So thank God. I mean, Vince ain't going to be losing any more money there. Let's hope none of his other kids decide to run for politics either. I mean, I don't know what money Trump might be soaking out of McMahon now, but goddamn it, WWE fans certainly don't need to be paying for that fucking bullshit. I am not happy with Vince McMahon. I am not happy with WWE. Like I said, these are reasons why they don't get my money anymore. If you really care about this business, if you really, really care about the wrestlers who are in this business and the people who have given their lives for this business, fuck WWE. Don't buy this show. Don't go to this show. Go to WrestleCade. Spend your money smart.
I will say this. I will say this, is that because WrestleCade is a huge thing, not just in North Carolina, but in the Southeast. And on average, they can draw between 4,000 and 5,000 people throughout the weekend. It's a huge, huge thing. I will say that if WWE wanted to siphon off fans and wanted to have a good show, it wouldn't be that hard. I mean, they already said that they're going to have, Charlotte's own Charlotte Flair. So North Carolina's own Charlotte Flair is going to be there. But you also have to remember that Cedric Alexander is from Greensboro, North Carolina. Well, he's from Charlotte, which is right down the road from Greensboro. And he's newly signed, and he has a lot of fans still in North Carolina that would definitely come to to see Cedric Alexander wrestle on a Starrcade pay-per-view / house show. Not only that, but, I heard through the grapevine that the Revival may be coming back. Is this going to be a surprise that the week before, Starrcade, they're going to say, hey, the Revival's making a comeback? And then I saw on, social media where Michael P.S. Hayes offered, I guess, and tell me if I'm wrong, Kev, but Michael P.S. Hayes extended an offer to Cody Rhodes saying, hey, come, one night only, come wrestle with your brother on Starrcade and stuff in the pay-per-view that your dad created. Come tag up with your brother Goldust at Starrcade. So I will say, as not only a wrestler from North Carolina, but a fan of wrestling, that if you happen to see Cedric Alexander and then you see the Revival, which are two guys from North Carolina, versus, Goldust and Cody Rhodes, that may be enough to have people trading in and selling their WrestleCade tickets to go to Starrcade.
It definitely would. I mean, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity considering where Cody is right now in his career. I saw that it was Cody and Dustin instead of Goldust, but Dustin against the Hardy Boys. Again, North Carolina's own Hardy Boys, born and bred in Cameron. So you do a all Carolina cast, so to speak, as WWE, a cast, as you said, that can draw the Hardy Boys. If you say Broken Matt will be at this pay-per-view or this event, Matt Broken Hardy or whatever they want to say, people, they will come. You say that the Hardy Boys will be facing Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes or Runnels or whatever you want to call him, people will pay their money to show up at this event, this non-televised event. WWE is very, very smart. They're very, very slick. I think they would indeed use people like Cedric, who has a following, who PWX fans would drive to see, who anybody who's seen him in the Carolinas or in the South would drive to see. And especially if they put him in the ring against any one of North Carolina's native sons. Caleb Conley, who's under contract, I know. But if it's a non-televised event and it's an indie booking, who knows? I mean, if WWE throws enough money at him, I'm sorry. I gotta go with the money if I'm him. So, it is, again, my view on this is that WWE, being the dicks, the assholes, whatever you want to call them, I say juggernauts, that they are killing the territory all over again. And this is their foray into seeing just what they could do legally and technically to screw with indie wrestling and to screw with those shows that run under the same week as WrestleMania and SummerSlam or what have you. This is their warning shot, so to speak. We're in the South. They got a fully loaded shotgun, and this is them putting one past our heads going, hey, watch yourself. Or next time, it's coming right between the eyes. That's my thought on it all.
And you know what? I'm gonna jump right in there on it. If they're gonna do anything with these local legends, you think Cedric Alexander is gonna get a main event match? You think he's gonna get a 10 or 15 minute match? No. He'll get squashed in 3 minutes by Randy Orton. You think you're gonna see the Revival and a great tag team classic? No. They're getting squashed in 3 minutes by whoever the fucking tag team champions are. Done. You think the Hardy Boys are going to go out there? Yeah. You think the Hardy Boys are going to go out there and put on a Matt Classic of all time? No. They'll get to kind of promo for about 2 minutes and sell some merchandise, and that'll be it. The stars of the show are going to be John Cena, Roman Reigns, Rusev. Maybe you'll get the Big Show. Maybe they'll put the Big Show in a semi-main event, or Mark Henry. That's the shit they're gonna shovel you. They ain't gonna let the local guys shine. They might trot out the guys who grew up in the area and who made their names in the area, but they ain't gonna get the shine. They ain't gonna get the shine at all, cause Vince McMahon don't give a fuck.
Well, as we can see, ladies and gentlemen, Killer Kev is very passionate, about his dislike of all things WWE. With that being said,
let me just clear that up real quick. I don't hate all things WWE. I respect Vince McMahon as a great businessman. I respect WWE for putting on some of the highest quality production. But let's be honest, for the position that they are in this industry, they act like such fucking dicks all the fucking time, and it's bullshit. They don't do it. Be classy. I mean, Jesus Christ, show some class.
I will say that them running the same weekend as WrestleCade and AML, like I said, Brian Hawks and Tracy Myers have done an extraordinary job of promoting, WrestleCade. From the minute last year's WrestleCade was over with, they started promoting this year's WrestleCade and unveiling all the special guests and stuff that was going to be there and all the legends that were going to be there. I do feel that this may be a little petty on the side of WWE where they're like, okay, we're fine with ROH drawing 1,500 people at center stage, or we're fine with, our ROH drawing, 1,500 people WrestleMania weekend. We're fine with Evolve drawing, 200, 300, 400 people WrestleMania weekend. There's no way we're going to let this indie show, this fan fest, draw 4,000 people and not get a piece of this pie. I really feel that it may be a little petty on behalf of WWE, to run, especially something like Starrcade. And like I said, the venues are less than 45 minutes away from each other. Anybody in North Carolina will tell you that the distance between Greensboro and Winston-Salem is a hop, skip, and a jump. It is nowhere to go from, the only thing that separates them, I think, is High Point. So, I feel like there's going to be a lot of people, that may or may not sell their WrestleCade tickets just to say that they went to a Starrcade. Because like Mika said, for nostalgia reasons, this is a very petty move on WWE's part. They could have done Starrcade, because, correct me if I'm wrong, Starrcade was really a Christmas show, wasn't it?
I'm gonna have to check that. I'm thinking about Starrcade. I almost want to say
Starrcade. Yeah, Starrcade was in December. Not if not not necessarily at Christmas, but right around Christmas. It was the big end of the year show.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They could have did Starrcade at the end of the year instead of Thanksgiving. Like I said, I feel like this might be kind of petty. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's our show for tonight. Killer Kev, what do we got going on this week for all things that's Angry Mark Podcast?
Well, fuck WWE, and tomorrow night we're going to have Glove Up or Shut Up, and Thursday night, fuck WWE, and we will have Thursday night AMP, where we'll discuss more about fuck WWE, as well as the great things that are happening in New Japan Wrestling and elsewhere in the wrestling world. And then after that, fuck WWE and fuck TNA, Impact, GFW, whatever it is, because Seth Draken and Mike Pullen will cover whatever that bullshit is on the Impact implosion. And I guess they're going back to the Impact name now because they can't use the GFW name anymore. The fuck was up with that? Who the hell is running that shit up in Canada? I don't understand this shit.
I'm in tears right now.
Do you understand what's going on with this, Will?
Yes, I do. Well, the thing was is that Jeff Jarrett sold them a bill of goods. It's like, hey, yeah, instead of being, TNA or Impact, you guys can be GFW, but you can't own the name GFW. And when I leave, the name goes with me.
And his ass is out the door.
Jarrett. I'm not gonna lie.
And his ass is out the door, and Jim Cornette's ass is out the door because he can't do the show in Canada now because he's permanently barred from Canada. And oh, by the way, he'll say fuck WWE as well. And Friday night we'll get to Ed in San Antonio and his show, and he'll say fuck WWE. And then we've got the weekend just all fuck WWE there because I'm busy working, so I ain't got time to worry about that.
Well, Mika, what are your wrestling plans this weekend as the great commentator / fan, wrestling fan that you are? Do you have any plans for this weekend?
I can't even think. I do. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Thursday night, I'm going to go and check out some complimentary wrestling here locally in Atlanta. At one of the training schools. I will not promote it just yet, but there are a lot of names that train there. People you've seen on the WWN Styles Battle and on the Evolve Network are training out of this school, and someone from Lucha Underground is the head trainer. I will be at their show on Thursday. This weekend, I'm also going to, I can't even think. The fuck WWE just blows my mind. This Sunday is very, very important to me. This is the AWE show 8 weeks later. I will definitely, absolutely, positively be in the house on commentary for this most excellent and overdue show. It indeed has been 8 weeks, and we have been waiting as the AWE fanatics will converge here in Atlanta, and we invite each and every person in and around Atlanta to come to this show. This show is, of course, a great show. It's absolutely positively a wonderful platform to talk about independent wrestling. And if you hear the sound of my voice, not only am I inviting you to come see me, but I'm inviting you to come buy me a drink, because that will make me speak even crazier. But it'll also, again, it's an adult show. We have a great time, and there's excellent wrestling. There are so many names on this card. It is ridiculous. Follow my social media. Follow Huckaby social media, because we are promoting this show because we really believe in what we do here in Atlanta. And we want everyone in the world to know that we will say fuck WWE because we are going to run against them coming up very, very soon in a Monday night as they are here in Atlanta. But my focus this weekend is on that AWE show on Sunday. And Thursday night just is kind of a brain relax as I gear up for what's going to be a freaking fantastic show. And as I continue to now say, fuck WWE.
Are you going to give out your social media? Or are you just going to continue to say fuck WWE?
My mind literally truly is blown. My social media, guys, follow me on everything smoking is Mika Villas, Mika, V like victory, ILLAS. That is on your Facebook. That is on your Twitter. That is on your Instagram and your Snapchat. You never know what you're going to see, hear, or be able to interact with when you go ahead and follow any one of my social medias. As long as they're no unsolicited, I will be more than happy to talk back to you, talk wrestling, talk whatever, whenever, because I'm kind of a night owl. So middle of the night is fine and dandy. Just don't get upset if I don't answer right back. You know, sometimes a girl's gotta, you know, watch wrestling and not be so on the social media. But I promise you, follow me, like me, whatever, and we can say fuck WWE together.
I was going to say, you say no unsolicited, but I'm about to say, don't you have like a going rate if somebody tries to be unsolicited?
Oh my God. Keep moving.
Anyway, this weekend, tomorrow I will be in New Jersey once again, for CZW Presents Dojo Wars. Once again, great crowd. I love going up there. The powers that be at Dojo Wars are amazing. So shouts out to Preacher, shouts out to DJ Hodge, shouts out to MOJ. Besides, I really feel like, and on the side note, I really feel like Emil and Stevie J would get along so well because both of these guys are probably two of the most dedicated hip hop fans I've met in a long time. But neither one of them look like they would be hip hop fans, but they're like diehard hip hop fans, and I think that they would get along so well. So yeah, like I said, Wednesday I will be at Dojo Wars in New Jersey. You know, New Jersey's like the size of a quarter, so whatever. Saturday I will be in Whitesburg, Georgia for OSWA, old school or outlaw old school championship wrestling. I'm sorry. Don't know who my opponent is going to be, but I will be defending the Worldwide Grand Prix title in Whitesburg, Georgia, which will be a first, not only for that city, but also for the WWGP Championship. And then Sunday, like Mika said, I will be appearing in Marietta, Georgia, at the Marietta Event Center for Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment. It's been a long time coming, Mika, and I really feel like, more than anything else, I don't care what I'm doing, I'm really going to have to get some answers from Joe. Like, I don't really talk to him on the phone that much and stuff. We don't talk on social media. We don't talk on the phone or whatever. He was in my hometown last weekend, and he was lucky because I was in West Virginia this past weekend when he came to Havelock, so I still didn't get a chance to talk to him. But this Sunday, after the last show's events and stuff, which if all of our fans and listeners follow AWE, you can watch a really quick promo and they'll show you some highlights of what happened last show. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered and stuff, and I'm just tired of, I feel like Joe, because he has the hierarchy and he has a bunch of friends at AWE and stuff, not only in the locker room but also in the front office, I guess he feels very secure with himself. So might have a talk with Joe Black. Anyway, that's where I'll be at this weekend. If you want to find out more, not only where I'm going to be at, but as far as buying t-shirts, hats, beer koozies, stickers, temporary tattoos, whatever you name it, I probably have it. Find me on Facebook, William Huckaby. Find me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. I'm sorry, at WA Huckaby. Instagram, William Huckaby. Unlike Mika, I don't do Snapchats. My life is not that interesting that I need to have a Snapchat. But you can follow me on Instagram and check out my bus stop selfies with me and my amazing kids. And also, watch and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I got a bunch of stuff uploading. For some reason, YouTube is being very mean and vicious when it comes to uploading videos and stuff. But got a lot of matches and everything coming up, going up, whatever. So there it goes. Also, follow the Wrestling Nerdcast. If you like this show, you want to support this show, let us know. Follow us on Twitter at WNerdPod. That's WNERDPOD. Also, give us a like and a follow and stuff, and give us shoot us a message on Facebook, the Wrestling Nerdcast on Facebook. That's about it. Anything else, Mika?
Yeah, fuck WWE.
There you go. Say it loud. Say it proud.
I'm not going to say that.
I'm sorry.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the hardest working producer in wrestling podcast history, on behalf of the Cersei Lannister professional wrestling, the waffle lover, the voice of the speech impediment, the highly opinionated and highly intelligent fledgling, and I'm not going to say fledgling because she's now a actual commentator, not only for AWE, but also for Mucha Lucha Atlanta, Mika Villas. I am the worldwide Grand Prix champion. I'm the IWA North Carolina champion, the disrespectful intellectual, the Southern gentleman, the Mid-Atlantic bully, the Morning Star, the incredible Huck, William Huckaby, saying see you next week and support indie wrestling.
Bye, y'all.